The story goes that a Scotsman by the name of Tim O'Connor once claimed that no Scotsman would ever eat their porridge with sugar on top. Uh, Somebody in his audience challenged this by saying, well, your own nephew John O'Leary um, eats his porridge with sugar on top. To which Tim O'Connor proudly replied, but then he's not a true Scotsman because no true Scotsman would ever eat their porridge with sugar on top. This is one of my most beloved logical fallacies. First off, because of the funny story behind it, but also because it has a very interesting structure. What happens is somebody makes a universal claim. Um, some opponent in the discussion challenges this claim by bringing up a counterexample, and the first person will then not change the universal claim or deny the counterexample, but instead change the wording of the claim so it appears as though the claim was still the same. Simply by, for example, adding the word true. One beloved instance of that is when somebody defends a religion. They will sometimes somebody else will say, well, religion is bad because um, uh, religious schools abuse their children, and the defender of the faith might then say, well, but this is an abuse of religion. This is not really religion. I think the best challenges to this kind of logical fallacies are simply calling out the fallacy and clarifying the consequence of the fallacy. Like what happens on a logical level is that you take something into your definition that wasn't there before. Like the usual definition of a Scotsman is just somebody born in Scotland. And with the no true Scotsman argument, you are basically saying that the definition of a Scotsman now is a person born in Scotland who does not put sugar on their porridge. And of course, it then becomes glaringly obvious that this makes no sense at all. And also, whatever attribute you take into your definition cannot be part of the debate anymore. So if the topic of the debate is whether religion is good or bad, then of course you cannot simply take goodness into the definition of religion. It just makes the discussion completely senseless, and it basically makes your definition useless. The other thing is that most of the time it is also a form of moving the goalposts. I'm not completely sure whether it's necessarily a form of moving the goalposts, but of course everybody in the room will just assume that the definition of a Scotsman is somebody who was born in Scotland. So if you move from, you have to move in order to make a no true Scotsman argument from somebody born in Scotland to somebody born in Scotland and does not put sugar on top of the porridge. So you move the goalposts, and that you can call out as well. As a information on the side, the term was created by Anthony Flew in his book Thinking About Thinking, Do I Sincerely Want to Be Right? Published in 1975. and also I find it rather amusing. The opposite of a no true Scotsman is not a logical fallacy or a correct logical argument, but a true Scotsman is actually the practice of wearing a kilt without undergarments. Bye bye and Happy New Year and so on and so forth.